All right, let's just dive right in. Welcome to this explainer where we are unpacking the absolute extreme methods Kim Jong-un uses to maintain his iron grip on North Korea. We're looking at a dictator who doesn't just make the laws, he literally is the law, you know? And if anyone dares to break his rules, wiping them from existence basically becomes his sole mission, even if that person happens to be his own flesh and blood. So to really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of control he wields over an entire nation, we're going to start with a true crime espionage plot that reveals exactly how far this regime is willing to go. It's a real-life story of deception, chemistry, and just ruthless power.
So, February 13, 2017, at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, how exactly did a comedy prank show become a very real international assassination? Well, to understand how he controls a nation, we first got to look at how he eliminated a single threat, his own half-brother, Kim Jong-nam. Back in 2003, Kim Jong-nam was exiled, living pretty quietly in China, but according to reports, he'd become an informant for the CIA. For Kim Jong-un, this was an absolute existential threat. He was terrified the CIA might orchestrate a coup, take him out, and install his half-brother as a puppet leader. So as Kim Jong-nam walked into that airport to catch a flight to Macau, he had zero idea a highly sophisticated hit squad was waiting for him. And their weapon of choice? No joke, a fake comedy show.
The prank show setup. The sheer cinematic deception of this plan is just staggering. A North Korean operative actually posed as a TV producer and hired two women, one from Malaysia, the other from Vietnam. He pitched them this idea that they were going to be the stars of a hidden camera YouTube prank show. The big gag? Running up to random strangers and smearing baby oil on their faces to get a funny reaction. And to build their confidence, these women actually practiced this prank on random people for months, completely unaware they were being groomed and weaponized for a high-level political assassination.
Which brings us to the VX nerve agent. When the big day arrived, the producer pointed out their next target, Kim Jong-nam. But when the women ran up and wiped what they thought was harmless baby oil on his face, it was actually this incredibly deadly chemical. Just a single drop on the face is enough. It travels swiftly right through the respiratory system and directly attacks the nervous system. The result? The body's neurotransmitters completely shut down. The brain instantly stops sending signals to the rest of the body. And while the women ran off laughing, honestly thinking they nailed the prank, a North Korean agent dressed in a black suit just watched from nearby to confirm the hit was successful.
Let's look at this 10-minute countdown, because tracking this minute by minute reveals how terrifyingly efficient this weapon really is. Minute 0, Kim Jong-nam walks in. Minute 1, the attack happens, caught clear as day on CCTV. By minute 5, a highly agitated Kim Jong-nam approaches airport officers for help and makes his way to the medical clinic. And by minute 10, it's over. His neurotransmitters fail entirely and he dies right there in the airport clinic. The precision is just chilling, but the escape, that was equally calculated.
Let's trace this elaborate escape route. Well, chemical specialists quickly neutralized the poison on the unsuspecting women's hands, and a driver whisked them away, which, by the way, led to their eventual arrest and 2 years in jail. The real mastermind agents pulled a total vanishing act. First, 4 key North Korean operatives fled to the North Korean embassy in Malaysia. From there, they executed this pre-planned multi-country flight path, a pre-booked flight to Jakarta, then Dubai, up to Vladivostok, and finally, safely arriving back home in Pyongyang. The whole operation was a flawless execution of state-sponsored terror.
Which brings us to our next section, rule by absolute terror.
Now, if this is the elaborate, ruthless length Kim Jong-un will go to in order to eliminate his own flesh and blood abroad, how does he control 26 million citizens at home? This highly orchestrated murder wasn't just personal revenge, you know? It was a micro-example of the regime's overarching philosophy. The Kim family has ruled North Korea for 80 years, and their primary currency is violence. Not a single bird flaps its wings in North Korea without the regime's permission. If this is what happens to a blood relative living under foreign protection, what is daily life actually like for the 26 million citizens trapped inside the country's borders? How do you keep an entire population completely subservient?
Well, to keep the population subservient, economic suppression is key. When people are just struggling to survive, they simply don't have the energy or resources to rebel, and that results in this staggering statistic. 60%. 60% of North Korean citizens live in pure poverty. The wealth is strictly concentrated among those who stand loyal to the president. It's a country where these massive, grand roads exist, but they remain eerily empty because absolutely no one in the general public can actually afford cars. But physical poverty, that's only half the strategy.
Beyond economics, psychological isolation is enforced through a total information blackout. To prevent anyone from questioning his authority, Kim Jong-un enforces a strict, impenetrable barrier between his people and the outside world. Just look at what's banned. The very definition of the internet is different there. There's zero global access. Facebook, YouTube, foreign movies, foreign songs, all strictly banned. Even tourists are meticulously screened before entry. Their phones are scoured picture by picture, and any negative image of North Korea means the phone is instantly confiscated. And the control extends to deeply personal choices too. You can only get unapproved haircuts. Actually, wait, scratch that. You can only get government-approved haircuts. Unapproved ones are banned. And owning even a single page of a religious text, that carries severe punishments.
It's honestly shocking to see how mundane actions have such extreme consequences. These everyday mistakes are treated as direct threats to the dictator's power. Imagine falling asleep during a meeting. Well, a defense minister did exactly that, and he was executed in front of everyone. Or making an international phone call. Back in 2007, a businessman used a secret phone to call outside the country, and he was publicly executed in front of a massive crowd. It just proves a regime's core belief. Absolute terror is the only way to prevent an uprising. But the terror doesn't stop with the individual offender.
This brings us to the three-generation punishment, which is perhaps the most chilling method of psychological control we're covering today. It's a draconian policy where if a citizen commits treason, the regime doesn't just eliminate the offender, they eliminate their parents, and they eliminate their children. Kim Jong-un's philosophy is that the traitorous bloodline must be entirely erased from history, to serve as a painful example. This ensures citizens actively police themselves and their neighbors, paralyzed by the sheer terror that one single misstep will cost their entire family's survival.
And that leads us right into our final section, the geopolitical gridlock. Hearing all of this, you might be asking yourself, why does the world tolerate these extreme human rights violations? If this country is effectively the world's most brutal prison, a place where escaping is literally impossible, why hasn't the international community stopped a leader who openly starves his people and assassinates rivals in foreign airports? The reality is that the United States and other global powers are physically paralyzed from intervening. The geopolitical board is totally locked, which leads us to our final massive roadblock in understanding North Korea.
We are looking at a complete North Korean stalemate. On one side, you have severe international sanctions. The international community fights back the only way it can, financially, walling off their ability to trade. Banned exports include gold, minerals, metals, iron, and coal. No one can buy or sell them. But on the other side is the regime's ultimate shield. They are a nuclear-armed state. Physical military intervention is completely off the table because the risk of a nuclear catastrophe is just way too high. Kim Jong-un knows for a fact that without this ultimate leverage, his grip on power could be challenged from the outside.
So, with nuclear weapons securing the borders from the outside and absolute terror paralyzing the citizens on the inside, can the ultimate prison state ever be broken? It leaves us with this profound, unsettling reality to think about. He's constructed an airtight fortress. It really makes you wonder if a grip this tight can ever truly be broken from within. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on a regime that has, sadly, mastered the darkest arts of human control. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.